Thank you to our witnesses. We had representative of finance here yesterday, and I asked them a similar question, and their response was to implement a carbon border adjustment and all the administration that go around that. The costs and the efforts would be, in her words, intense. We now know that the cost just to administer the carbon tax is about $83 million, and close to 500 bureaucrats to administer that program. We know the carbon tax is costing farmers about $150,000 on average per farm, $1 billion in lost revenue to Canadian farmers by 2030. To Mr. McCann or Mr. White, I'll ask, what would be the cost of a carbon border adjustment in terms of the cost to the farmer or the cost to administer in terms of not only maybe dollars but effort in terms of implementing a program that would be navigable, let's say?
So I think that the short answer is we don't know, but potentially quite significant. The design parameters around a potential border carbon adjustment could require pretty intense reporting from the farm gate to the exporter. We don't have the systems in place. A lot of good work is being done around building efficient measurement reporting and verification systems, but we really are still a pretty long way off from having something that could easily be put in place. And I think we also have the unfortunate reality that anytime government has had to step in of late and try and put a governmental touch around these systems, the experience has not been positive, right? And we need to acknowledge that there's a high risk that this will end up being, the risk is already good that it will end up being a burden on the sector that's difficult to cope with, but it will end up likely being more of a burden than we think it's going to be based on our past recent experience.
Mr. White?
Yeah, great question, Mr. Barlow. It's difficult. I can't really comment on the administration costs. I can only imagine how expensive and complicated it would be. But again, I don't have any experience in that area. But focusing on your question about impact on farmers or price impact, what we're worried about is if this goes ahead and it's a blanket approach, there will be winners and there will be losers. And I believe that farmers will ultimately end up losing on the on the imports of critical inputs, like I mentioned, fertilizer, machinery, crop protection products. We import a lot of those products, and if those products have taxes attached to them, their input costs go up, their margins collapse, and we go from bad to worse. We already have the China issue right now, and that's a big problem for us. The last thing farmers need is more uncertainty about the cost of and availability of their inputs. So again, without knowing the detail, the devil is in the detail. And so to proceed with this with caution and think of all the circumstances of the winners and the losers, this is very risky in our view. But again, hard to comment on theoreticals right now, but where the rubber hits the road, be able to answer that question more thoroughly.
I appreciate that, Mr. White. Thank you. And I guess on one specifically, fertilizer costs were up more than 100%. Directly attributable to the carbon tax, as it is now a 35% tariff on fertilizer from Eastern Europe, and now perhaps a carbon border adjustment on fertilizer as well. Maybe not from Europe necessarily, but those are all added costs that are passed right on to the producer as a result of the carbon tax and tariffs that have been put on. The other interesting thing that was raised was Bill C-59, the greenwashing bill. And I know, Mr. White, Canadian canola producers were highlighted in the Global Institute of Food Security study on the incredible efficiencies and achievements of Canadian agriculture. I think the one on canola was that our carbon footprint on canola is 67% lower than canola grown in other jurisdictions around the world. If you were to try to achieve the standards set by a carbon border adjustment, but you're unable to actually talk about the incredible successes of Canadian agriculture as a result of the greenwashing bill. What kind of burden does that put on you as an organization and representing thousands of farmers if you're not able to talk about the incredible achievements that Canadian farmers are already doing and setting the standard globally?
Yeah, I mean, we need to tell our story because it is a story of success and achievement and the culmination of farmer ingenuity, research and innovation, quick adoption to technologies, zero-till machinery, precision ag, all those things. Farmers are in the business of minimizing their costs and minimizing the disturbance on the environment in their production. And it's a story that needs to be told. And if we can't tell it through greenwashing bill, or because of that, I don't think we're serving our customers around the world. We're not answering the questions that they have. And I think it would be very much shortchanging our ability to tell our story and to explain how, why, and what we're doing about sustainability and all the good things that we're doing to the individual environments that are on those farms. I think it would be a critically missing pieces of information that would be missing from the conversation globally.
Thank you, Mr. Barlow.